Welcome to the Lansing Connection. I'm Senator Nancy Cassis, representing the 15th District, most of Western Oakland County. And as always, we try to bring you timely information and a very special guest. And today is no different. My guest is former Highland supervisor, a state representative, a state senator who served with great distinction, and now is chair of the Oakland County Commissioners, Commissioner Bill Bullard. Hi, Bill.
Nice to be here, Senator.
It's welcome. I'm so glad you could be here. Just for all of you, I want to share that Bill has been a special friend and a mentor to me over all these years. I've known him for over 25 years. He's been very active politically, and he has done tremendous things for our state, and now as chair of the county commission. But why today is so timely is because of the momentous decisions that are going on in our state coming from Lansing, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. First, the resolution of the 07 budget, and then moving into something I'm intimately involved with, and that is the agreement on a new business tax for the state of Michigan, replacing the antiquated single business tax, and hopefully we'll be able to spend a few minutes talking about the pending 08 budget. But first, Bill, let me start with you. We're talking about budgets, and as you know, the legislature was able, under the Senate Republican leadership, to balance the 07 budget without raising taxes.
And that's a tremendous accomplishment, because a lot of people said you can't just cut, you've got to raise taxes, and you balance the budget without raising taxes.
And that's really good news, because the governor, of course, had her two-penny plan, or 2% increase, sales tax increase on all services. And you know, Bill, I had over 550 constituents, people you used to represent in the Senate, call or email me, and 90% of them said, don't raise our taxes. And even in the Memorial Day parade over here in Novi, interestingly enough, people were yelling from the sidelines, don't raise taxes, Nancy, stand firm. So we were able to do that.
I think that's a tremendous accomplishment. And then you're on the verge of passing a new business tax to replace the single business tax, which is probably the most hated tax we've ever had in the state of Michigan. Nobody likes it. So I think your new tax, which you can explain, will be a big improvement.
Well, Bill, you were chair of the House Tax Policy Committee.
That's right.
And then served in the Finance Committee and the Senate. Would you say that your expertise really revolved around tax policy over the 20-some years you were in the House and Senate?
Yes, that's what I concentrated in my 20 years in the legislature. And you almost have to, as you know, take some areas and try to learn as much as you can in those given areas, because if you try to learn everything, you just will become an expert in nothing.
That's very true, but you can certainly gain a lot from talking to economists, tax policy people, and doing what I did was, over the last 3.5 years, have hearings in Lansing on the demise of the single business tax, which really, that was my law, but we speeded it up thanks to Brooks Patterson so that it's done December 31st of this year. So we held hearings all over the state. We listened to big and large and small, all business interest groups to get their input, talking to economists, as I mentioned, doing research about what other states have done. This has been a journey of at least 3.5 years. And what has come out of it, quite frankly, I think is a reasonable, responsible, bipartisan, bicameral agreement. There were 8 of us, 4 from the House and 4 from the Senate. I was the co-chair of the work group from the Senate. And we had approximately 11 sessions to try and reach accord of the House plan and the Senate Republican plan, the best plan which I authored. As you know, no plan ever comes out to be 100% perfect or 100% ideal. But there are certainly features that I think are very worthwhile. And I'll share them with you, and I'll share them with our audience.
Yeah, I think the difficulty of your assignment as chair of the Senate Finance Committee and then as the Senate leader on this issue was there are always winners and losers when you create a new tax like this, when you start from scratch. So I think you maximize the winners, and you've exported a lot of the tax to out-of-state companies, which is a positive thing because you're rewarding companies that have done business in Michigan and that are investing in Michigan currently, and we hope will invest more in the future.
Absolutely. When we started this journey, there were some principles, some core principles that we wanted to achieve. And the goals especially were around any replacement must be fair and must be equitable. In other words, not prefer one sector over all others or shift the tax burden to the small business sector. And I have to say, I fought strenuously to ensure that small businesses, which are the backbone of our economy, also, it is the small business sector that are growing the jobs, hiring people, and really becoming more diversified. So in order to support those companies, we did some important things, and I want to share that with you. First and foremost, it provides about $120 million towards small business relief. 7 out of 10 firms are really going to benefit in this state. Almost 111,000 companies will see either their tax burden unchanged or actually decreased. And that's incredible. But most importantly, what I'm proud of is something called Me Too, the Michigan Entrepreneurial Exemption, in which a company, these are the fast-growing companies, those that are ready to, if they just had a little opportunity, could really jumpstart their business. They're the gazelles. Someone has dubbed them the gazelles, Bill. And in all this, if they invest $1.25 million, create 20 jobs, they will be exempt from taxes in that year, totally tax-free, to be able to grow that business. And then if they continue to create 20 jobs for the next 4 years, they would also be exempt. This is unique to Michigan, and this is my special little, I think, opportunity here that I put into this bill that I hope will become law.
I think that's a wonderful part of it, because the goal of the business tax is not only to give revenue to the state of Michigan, which it needs to operate, but to encourage businesses to develop. In the old system, the personal property tax, every machine you put in a plant, you got taxed on that machine. What kind of an incentive is that? So maybe you could explain the personal property tax part, which helps our manufacturers a great deal.
Absolutely. I was just going to share with you that in addition to small business relief, we took care of our historic manufacturing base, our domestic auto companies. They particularly had argued that the personal property tax, which as you know is a tax on equipment, was more insidious to them than even the single business tax. So we compromised and are able to do away with 65% of their tax burden. Overall, it comes to about $614 million in personal property tax relief on equipment.